Hey everybody, Chris Coleman from the DCPA Theater Company here. I'm so excited to share with you news of what we have in store next season. In the fall, in The Wolf, we're launching with A Little Night Music by Stephen Sondheim and Hugh Wheeler, the team that built Sweeney Todd, and I get the great pleasure of directing it. 1900, Sweden, in the middle of the summer. The sun never sets and everybody's falling in love, and not always with the right person. Sondheim had a couple of successes, Company, Follies, but they hadn't made any money. And so he and his longtime collaborator, Hal Prince, were trying to think what might really hit with audiences. And so they chose to adapt Ingmar Bergman's film, Smiles of a Summer Night. The central characters are an attorney who lost his wife. She passed away several years ago, and he married a much younger woman. The marriage is not going so well. It's a beautiful adult musical, and by that I mean it's about grown-ups trying to find their way to authenticity. I'm a Sondheim fan, like many of you. One of the things that sets this piece apart for me is it's all in three. It's all inspired by the waltz. Most of his pieces are 4/4 and then with lots of crazy aberrations in the middle of them. This is all, the play begins with a waltz and it ends with a waltz, and it feels like the characters are waltzing in and out of each other's arms throughout the piece. Some of the songs that I really love and that you probably remember from this show: A Weekend in the Country, Send in the Clowns, The Miller's Son, just gorgeous, haunting, aching, beautiful music. And next up in the Kilstrom Theater, CLYDE'S by Lynn Nottage. Many of you will know Lynn's work from Ruined and our production of Sweat. She's a Pulitzer Prize winner and a Tony nominee. People across the country are hungry to see stories by Lynn Nottage. She's one of the most produced playwrights in America, and last season CLYDE'S was the most produced play across the country. If you saw Sweat, you know that she really is fascinated by the working class world in Eastern Pennsylvania. That play was a drama that was really about class differences in that community. In this world, it's a roadside diner, it's like a truck stop, and the proprietress is a really, an ex-con who's like really tough and in control. And she likes to hire folks who have gotten out of prison because she knows that they will do what she says, and she thinks everybody deserves a second chance. It's a rough world, and the humans are really struggling, but it is quite hilarious, and they are in love with the idea of creating flavors that are gonna just transport the people who come into this little diner. Many of you got to see Choir Boy, our production, in this same room last spring. That was directed by Jamil Jude, wonderful director out of Atlanta, and he'll be back at the helm for CLYDE'S. And then in the winter, we're gonna launch in the Singleton with Cebollas, world premiere by Leonard Madrid. This play came out of the Colorado New Play Summit last season. It was a huge audience favorite. It's about three Chicana sisters in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the youngest sister has been having an affair with a married man from Denver. And he dies on her lawn. And the three sisters have to figure out how to get his body back to Denver before his wife finds out that's how he died. And it is hilarious, super heartwarming, relationships that have been frayed are healed, and we get this kind of front row seat to like all the sights along that route from Albuquerque to Denver along the way. It'll be directed by Jerry Ruiz, who some of you may remember as the director for Fade, and he also directed the reading at the New Play Summit. One of the things that really drew us to Cebollas was it's really a family story. It's really about three people in their own community. They're not really struggling with the outside world in a challenging way. We're really getting to see them come together, fight through long-held grudges, and it just felt like a lot of people could connect to it. And I think all of us have had struggles with our siblings, And maybe we've worked through that, maybe we haven't. Some of us may have had to transport a dead body across state lines before. Maybe not, I don't know. But I just feel like there are a lot of entry points for us. And then in February, another world premiere, Rubicon, by Kirsten Potter, that I will also get to direct. The story was inspired by the life of Betty Thorpe, who was the first woman recruited by the U.S. intelligence service before it became the CIA. It's about an affluent housewife who's not really satisfied in her marriage with her British diplomat husband, and discovers that she has skills that others might need. And so she gets recruited by the British intelligence service. She has some critical roles in the early part of World War II. And then she gets recruited by the U.S. intelligence service, the precursor of the CIA. Kirsten Potter has crafted a story that's told by 5 actors. It's suspenseful, it is enthralling, it's quite surprising theatrically. It is very, very different, and I love that it's inspired by a true story. I love that it's about a woman that the world wasn't quite ready for, and who is trying to find a way to speak her authentic truth in that world. Very excited for you to see that one. And then in the spring, Emma by Jane Austen, in a beautiful and zany new adaptation by Kate Hamill. You might remember that we were hoping to bring this to you in the spring of 21, and we finally get to realize that dream. Many of you probably remember the story of Emma. She fashions herself an extremely adept matchmaker. At the top of the show, we are witness to the results of one of her matchmaking endeavors. And she launches into another one that is not going so well. And through the course of the story, she finds that maybe the match that really needs to be made is with herself and a romantic partner. Kate Hamill, really talented comedic actress, began writing adaptations of Austen novels about 10 years ago, and she's become a sensation across the country. She has an incredible wit. Her pieces are very, very funny, and she also is not afraid of letting the women speak with as much agency as a woman today might speak, but they still have on Regency clothes. It's a very fresh approach with a cast of 8, and it is definitely not your grandmother's Emma. And then in the Singleton, Where Did We Sit on the Bus by Brian Quijada, fascinating, one-of-a-kind solo show featuring performer and composer Sacha Chavez. The story centers on B. Quijada, and the pivotal moment comes, 3rd grade class, learn about the civil rights movement, Rosa Parks sitting on the bus, mostly white and black kids in the room, and B raises her hand and says, "Where were we? Where were the people that look like me?" And the teacher was baffled by the question, but it begins an exploration for B about her family's journey, her own identity, the history of her name. And as any aspiring theater maker, she begins to try to turn that into a story, into a performance. One of the things that's really fascinating about this piece, it is performed through spoken word, through poetry, through storytelling, and through song. And you're actually watching Sacha compose the music before your eyes. So she uses a technique called looping. So she will create a riff off of a keyboard that the computer captures and then repeats, and then she'll sing along with that, and then she'll create a riff from the percussion, and the computer will capture that and add it to the keyboard, and then she sings along with that. It is like nothing I have ever seen. It is a funny, inspiring, super heartwarming story, and I think it's going to be quite fresh for us all. You know, and in every season, we really try to bring you lots of different flavors throughout the year. And Where Did We Sit on the Bus is not only a unique story, but it's told in a fashion that we have not shared with you before. So I'm super excited. And then we'll close out the season with the Tony and Olivier Award-winning play, The Lehman Trilogy by Stefano Mazzini, adapted by Ben Power. Margot Bordelon, who you saw direct our productions of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and You Lost Me, will be at the helm. It is an epic feat of storytelling. We follow 3 actors on a journey with their families across 163 years. The story starts humbly. He builds a little shop that makes men's suits, and they're successful. And the story follows the 3 brothers building that business and then moving into cotton, growing that into something really successful, creating a middleman. They were the first to create the middleman in the American economy. They then move into locomotives, into computers, and then finally into high finance. We watch them grow businesses, we watch their businesses fail, we watch it all intertwine with the kind of the major events of each epoch. We watch them fall in love, grow families, and eventually we see the result of it all when Lehman Brothers fails in 2008. It is engrossing. There are no spreadsheets. It is not about the math. It's about the humanity and the desire to make an impact, and the skill and the greed and the mistakes that they were made, and the deep humanity of these people. It's a fascinating journey, and I cannot wait for you to get to see that one. And of course, for the holidays, we will be featuring our beloved production of A Christmas Carol, and we'd love to have you and your families join us. It has been so heartening to see how many of you have shown up to see shows here at the Denver Center this season. It is not something we take for granted. It's super meaningful. It means that we can do a wide variety of plays that we'd never be able to without subscribers like you. I hope that you will resubscribe and join us. The momentum really feels like it is building, and you are absolutely a part of that.